The unveiling of silence. The exclusion of my 17-year-old daughter, Serafina, from my sister Vivian's wedding wasn't just a slight. It was a match dropped into a powder keg. I didn't rage. I didn't plead. I simply stated we wouldn't be attending. But it was Christmas, months later, that truly ignited the wildfire. My name is Alara, and I was the eldest of three sisters, burdened from birth with the mantle of responsibility. I was the reliable one, the unwavering helper, the ever-present caretaker when our parents were consumed by their own worlds. For years, I didn't question it. It was simply the order of things. Vivian, the middle child, glittered as the family's radiant entertainer, her laughter a siren song, always drawing every eye. Celeste, the youngest, was the ethereal baby of the family, effortlessly charming her way out of any consequence. And I was the quiet architect of their comfort, the silent custodian of their chaos. As I matured and became a mother myself, some things shifted, though not as profoundly as I'd once desperately hoped. I adopted Serafina when she was just 3 years old. Her eyes, wide and heavy with a wisdom no 3-year-old should possess, surveyed the world as if it were a fragile, unpredictable thing. The first time her small voice whispered, "Mom," a dam broke within me. I wept in the car after dropping her off at preschool, not tears of sorrow, but of a fierce, protective love. That day, I swore an oath. She would never know the sting of not belonging, never doubt her place in our nascent family. A promise I soon learned that the world and my own blood would conspire to break. Vivian announced her engagement last spring with a fanfare worthy of a royal decree, a colossal diamond, and even more colossal Instagram post. I offered my congratulations, a smile plastered over a growing weariness. Serafina, her small hands painstakingly focused, crafted a handmade card, adorned with tiny, glittering wedding bells, far too many, perhaps, but born of innocent joy. Vivian called it sweet, then left it in the back seat of her car. I found it 2 weeks later, a crushed testament to forgotten affection, crumpled beneath a Starbucks cup. Yet Serafina clung to hope. She devoured online dress catalogs, debated hairstyles, her eyes alight with a fragile anticipation. She just wanted to feel, for once, truly part of something. Then, the invitation arrived. It was an opulent affair, heavy cardstock, embossed gold trim, the kind that whispered of lavish excess. I opened it at the kitchen counter. Serafina bent over her homework, oblivious. The usual details were there: location, attire, RSVP link. And then, my gaze snagged on the fine print, a viper coiling amidst the elegant script. Adults only. 18 plus. Strictly enforced. No exceptions. I read it twice, 3 times, as if a different meaning might reveal itself. It didn't. Serafina, with an instinct that always pierced my defenses, looked up. Her eyes, so often mirroring my own unspoken anxieties, found mine. "She doesn't want me there, does she?" Her voice was a wisp of a whisper. "It's an 18-plus wedding, honey," I managed, the lie tasting like ash. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, with a quiet certainty that shattered my world, she asked, "Is it because I'm adopted?" That question, it didn't just crack something inside me, it tore it wide open. She spoke it with such matter-of-fact resignation, as if it were a truth she had already accepted, a burden she had always known. I told her, of course, no. But I understood precisely what she meant. It wasn't the first wound. Not this precise cut, but 1,000 smaller nicks, whispered comments, and dismissive gestures that had slid under the radar. My mother, introducing Serafina as Alara's girl, never our granddaughter. Vivian, referring to her as your daughter, as if she were a neighbor's child. Serafina, offering to help in the kitchen at family gatherings, her presence met with blank stares, as if she were invisible. I had dismissed it as oversight, awkwardness, anything but malice. But this time, the blade was undeniable. I didn't fight. I didn't yell. I didn't even argue. I just went online and clicked. Not attending. No explanation, no protest, just the cool click of a silent declaration. I believed that would be the end of it. The next day, Vivian's text arrived. "Hey, saw your RSVP. Everything okay?" Followed swiftly by, "If this is about the age thing, I hope you understand. We're being super consistent. Nothing personal, right?" Not personal. Except Serafina was her niece. And she was 17, not 7. Not 7. I didn't reply. Then Celeste messaged, "Vivian said you're not coming. Like, what's going on?" My mother called. She never called just to talk. I picked up, bracing myself. "Ilara," she began, her voice brittle. "I heard you're not going to the wedding. Is this really about the age limit?" "If Serafina isn't invited," I said, my voice steady, "I'm not going without her. She's almost 18. My mother sighed. "It's not like she's a little kid. She's family." There was a pause, thick with unspoken accusation. "Don't punish your sister over this. It's one night." I didn't argue. "We're not going." And I hung up. That should have been the final word. But then came the relentless barrage of group chat messages, the insidious guilt-tripping, the thinly veiled barbs that weren't subtle at all. "Celeste, can't believe you're making such a big deal over one rule. You always have to cause drama." Another cousin. "Serafina's not the only one not coming. This isn't about her. You're making it about her." My mother sent a sprawling message about family unity, forgiveness, sacrifices, and the difficulty of being the middle child. I read them all, and I remained silent. Serafina deleted the dress photos from her phone. She stopped talking about the wedding. She didn't cry, and that, perhaps, was the cruelest cut of all. How unsurprised she was. She had already learned what I had spent too long trying to ignore. So, when Christmas approached, and no one had offered a single apology, no one had even mentioned the wedding, I made a quiet decision. I didn't invite them. No grand pronouncements. No fiery text messages. Just the deafening silence of absence. And that, more than any confrontation, was the weapon that truly unraveled them. 10 years ago, if you'd asked me about motherhood, I would have envisioned birthday parties, sticky hugs, glitter on every surface. I never would have imagined trying to shield a child from the very people who claim to love us both. When Serafina entered my life, she was 3 and heartbreakingly serious. Big brown eyes, soft curls, and a quiet, penetrating stare that made you feel she was memorizing your every word, just in case she needed it to survive you. She didn't warm quickly. She didn't giggle on cue. She didn't run into my arms like a scene from a movie. But the day she reached for my hand in the grocery store, unbidden, I cried for 10 minutes in the parking lot. My husband, Arthur, was the one who said, "That's the moment she chose you." And I have been choosing her every single day ever since. My family, however, never quite knew what to do with her. At first, I attributed it to awkwardness, a clumsy adjustment. She didn't have my eyes. She didn't yet bear my last name. She didn't leap into holiday conversations like the other children. But it was more than that. It was the way my mother referred to her as the little one instead of Serafina. The way Vivian once asked, "Are you going to tell her she's adopted when she's older?" With Serafina standing right there. The way Celeste's children received personalized Easter baskets from our parents, while Serafina got a generic one with a "Happy Spring" tag. It wasn't overt. It was quieter, softer, easier to excuse if you wanted to. But Serafina noticed. She always noticed. I tried to be patient. I truly did. I explained. I redirected. I offered them every benefit of every doubt. When Serafina was 6, she told my father she wanted to be an artist. He smiled. "You'll need something more practical than that." When she was 8, she drew a picture of our family, me, Arthur, and her, and gave it to my mother. My mother smiled, said "thank you," then set it down and never mentioned it again. Serafina later asked why it wasn't on the fridge, like the other cousins' drawings. I had no answer. The first time my patience truly snapped was at Celeste's engagement party. Serafina was 12. Celeste had invited us with a mass text, time, date, venue. No, can't wait to see you. No personal message.
But we went anyway.
Because I believed this was how we changed things. We kept showing up. Serafina wore a pale blue dress and little silver flats she'd picked out herself. She was nervous, constantly asking if she looked okay, if she could stay close to me. Celeste greeted us with a tight smile and a dismissive, "Hi," then turned to hug the next person, without a word to Serafina. No compliment. No, you look so grown up. Just stare. We stayed for 20 minutes, maybe 25. Serafina clung to my side the entire time. On the way home, she said, "I don't think she likes me." I replied, "She doesn't know you." She countered, "She's had 10 years. I had no answer for that either. The truth is, I don't think they ever fully accepted that Serafina wasn't temporary. It was as if some part of them believed I'd eventually have a real child, and Serafina would simply become a sweet chapter, a story they could refer to as when Alara fostered that little girl. They never said it aloud. They didn't have to. Last year, for Serafina's 16th birthday, we rented a space at the community center and decorated it with her artwork, her idea.
She didn't want a loud party.
She wanted to hang her paintings, serve cupcakes, and invite the people who had supported her. She made the invitations herself, sent them to family, friends, and a few teachers. Celeste didn't come. Neither did Vivian. My parents showed up 30 minutes late and brought a card that read, "To a sweet girl," with a $20 bill tucked inside. Serafina thanked them, ever polite. Afterward, she didn't say much, just helped clean up, carefully putting her canvases back in the car. But later that night, when we were home and the dishes were done, I found one of her sketches. It was a drawing of the three of us, her, me, and Arthur at the party. But our faces were blank. I think that's when I stopped hoping they'd change. Not because of the card, or the late arrival, or the blatant lack of effort, but because it didn't even hurt Serafina anymore. Not in the same way. She'd stopped being surprised. And that scared me more than anything. So, when the wedding invitation never came, not even a phone call, just a silent, calculated exclusion, I knew what I had to do. I didn't beg. I didn't plead or try to negotiate. I simply told Serafina we wouldn't be attending. She didn't shed a tear, just nodded quietly and said, "Okay." Later that night, she asked me, "Do you think they even realize we didn't go?" I told her yes, because she needed to feel like she mattered, even if they didn't act like she did. While the wedding weekend unfolded, we stayed home. Arthur made French toast. Serafina spent the afternoon painting in the sunroom, and I actually finished a book from start to finish. It wasn't an act of rebellion. It wasn't some grand protest. It was simply peace. And honestly, at first it felt foreign. That kind of silence makes you realize just how much noise you've grown accustomed to over the years. I didn't miss the wedding. I didn't find myself wondering about the ceremony, or what flowers they chose, or whether the cake turned out. I thought about Serafina instead, about how for so long she had searched for their approval in every conversation, every holiday, every single family gathering, and how little by little they had taught her not to expect it. Then I thought about the next holiday. For years, I had hosted Christmas out of duty, inviting them, feeding them, pretending their hollow smiles were enough. But this year I decided not to. This year I wanted something different. In early December, Arthur asked, "Should I go ahead and order the folding chairs?" I shook my head. No extra seats this time. He didn't question it. Serafina didn't either. Then the family group chat lit up. "Who's bringing dessert to Alara's this year? Should we arrive the night before, like usual?" I didn't answer. I just let the messages pile up, unopened. I didn't make an announcement that I wasn't hosting Christmas. There was no dramatic speech, no bold social media post telling everyone to find another place for their passive-aggressive holiday cheer. I just stayed quiet. And somehow, that silence became the loudest thing I'd ever done. Around December 15th, the messages started changing tone. Celeste wrote, "Alara, are we still doing Christmas Eve dinner at your place? Let me know what I should bring." Then Vivian chimed in, "We'll be 5 again. Let me know if Serafina wants anything specific this year. If she's even going to be there this time. That one nearly broke me. If she's even going to be there this time. Like Serafina was the issue. Like she was the one who had failed, instead of the one who was deliberately left out. And for the first time in years, I didn't reply. I didn't scrub the house from top to bottom. I didn't pre-order a roast. I didn't haul out the extra folding chairs or drag the big dining table leaf from the garage. And when no one got a response, they started calling. First, it was my mother. I let it ring. Then Celeste, then Vivian, then my father, who left a voicemail. Ilara, we just want to know what's going on. Your mother's upset. It's not too late to do the right thing. The right thing? As if opening my home to people who excluded my daughter was the righteous choice. As if feeding them could somehow fix the things they refused to even name. We didn't host anyone that year. Instead, Arthur and I made lasagna in our pajamas while Serafina baked sugar cookies, shapes barely holding together. We stayed in, watched movies, opened presents early. We laughed more than we had in months. And for once, our holiday actually felt like home. No one walked on eggshells. No one had to translate pointed comments. No one got quiet when Serafina entered the room. It was just us. And that's when the messages started to change. December 26th. Vivian in the group chat. I just think it's sad. We've all tried to welcome Serafina, but Ilara has made it impossible to connect with her. Celeste. I mean, if you cut off family every time there's a disagreement, you'll end up with no one. Dad. The way you're handling this is cruel. I'm sorry, but it is. My mom sent me a photo of the Christmas tree at their house with the caption, "It wasn't the same without you." Serafina would have loved her gifts. I didn't reply because they weren't gifts for Serafina. They were guilt-wrapped invitations to come back and pretend everything was fine, and I had done that for too long. A few days later, we got a card in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. Inside, my mother had written, "I wish you'd think about the example you're setting. Serafina will see how easily you shut people out." That line stuck with me because I realized that's exactly what I want her to see. Not that love is disposable, but that love, real love, doesn't ask you to shrink yourself. It doesn't ask you to sit quietly while the people around you pretend your pain is too uncomfortable to acknowledge. Serafina didn't ask about the messages, but I knew she saw the tension. She's never been one to ask directly. She just watches, absorbs, like she's still trying to figure out which parts of the world are safe. One night, curled up on the couch, sketching something, she paused, then said, "If I wasn't adopted, do you think they'd like me more?" The question hit harder than any text. I sat down beside her. "Sweetheart," I said, "they'd probably pretend better. But the way they treat people who aren't like them, that was never about you." She looked at me with those same serious eyes from the day I met her and said, "I don't think I want them to like me anymore." And that was the moment I stopped waiting for an apology. A few days later, my father called again. I let it ring. Then he texted, "Your mother's not sleeping. She feels like she's lost you. We know we messed up, but that doesn't justify shutting everyone out. That's not who you are." I stared at that line for a long time. That's not who you are.
I used to wonder about that.
Used to question whether I was being too cold, too sensitive, too harsh. But now, I think this is who I am. Someone who finally knows what she will and won't tolerate. Someone who knows that keeping peace at the expense of your child's dignity isn't noble. It's cowardice dressed up as tradition. The final straw came from Vivian. She sent a voice memo. One of those rambling ones where people try to sound calm, but every sentence has a knife tucked inside. "I just think it's sad, Ilara. You always made such a big deal about how much you love Serafina, but now it feels like you're using her as a shield. Like anytime someone doesn't treat her like royalty, you cut them out. That's not healthy. That's not parenting. That's obsession." I didn't listen to the rest. I deleted the message and blocked her number. Because if loving Serafina fiercely, completely, is seen as obsession in their world, then yes, I'm obsessed. I'm wildly, unapologetically obsessed with protecting the person who needed me the most. And nothing they say will make me regret it. That New Year's came and went quietly. Serafina fell asleep before midnight with a half-eaten cookie on the couch. Arthur and I toasted with tea instead of champagne and watched fireworks on mute. He looked at me and said, "Do you miss them?" I thought about it. "No," I said. I miss the idea of him. But that version never really existed. He nodded, didn't say anything more,
Just reached for my hand. I don't know what will happen next.
I'm sure they'll keep trying. People like that don't go quietly. There will be more texts, more posts. Maybe one of them will show up at Serafina's graduation next year, acting like nothing happened. But I've made my decision. There's no big showdown coming. No dramatic confrontation. Just quiet distance. And sometimes, that's the most powerful choice of all. It happened on a Thursday. Cold, overcast, quiet. I had just come home from work, still in my coat, when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Arthur was working late. Serafina was upstairs, preparing a portfolio project for her college applications. I opened the door, and there they were. My parents, standing on my porch like it was still 2007, and we were pretending nothing had ever gone wrong. My mother held a Tupperware container. Oatmeal cookies, her specialty, soft in the middle, slightly burnt around the edges. The kind she used to make when I was little. "Ilara," she said, with a breathy, strained smile. "We thought we'd stop by." I didn't say anything at first, just stared at the container in her hands as if it might be booby-trapped. My father shifted beside her. "Can we come in? Just for a minute." "No," I said. There was a pause. Surprise, perhaps, but not long enough to matter. My mother tried to recover, her voice dripping with forced warmth. "We just wanted to talk. Things got heated, but we're still your family." She offered the cookies like a peace treaty. I didn't take them. That's when the smile started to falter. "You don't have to be like this," she said, her voice tightening. "We know it's been hard raising a teenager." "Pushing everyone else away," my dad added, his tone sharpening. "We tried to be patient. We gave you space, but this, you're going to lose your real family over a girl who's going to leave in a few months." My stomach clenched. "She's 17, my mom said softly, a manipulative softness. "She'll go off to college soon. And then what? You'll be alone. You'll regret this." I could hear the words underneath the words. This wasn't about reconciling. This was about control. And then my mother said it. The thing I think she'd always believed, deep down, the chilling truth beneath all their veiled slights. "I'm sorry, Ilara, but she's not blood. She's not really one of us." She said it gently, as if she were doing me a favor, as if she expected me to nod and say, "You're right. I lost my way." Instead, I took a deep breath, stepped back, and said, "You need to leave right now." My dad looked taken aback. "Ilara." "No," I said louder. "You don't get to come here with cookies and pity and act like this is kindness. You don't get to insult my daughter to my face and then wonder why I'm not inviting you in. You're going to regret this," my mom said again, her voice cracking now, the mask finally slipping. "When she leaves you, when she forgets about you, you'll see. Our door will still be open. You'll come back. You'll realize we were right." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. I closed the door, locked it, and leaned against it until I couldn't hear their footsteps anymore. I told Serafina the next day. I wasn't going to. I didn't want her to carry their poison. But I've never lied to her. Not about anything important. She sat very still while I told her what they said. About her leaving, about not being blood, about me crawling back one day. She didn't cry, but I could see it in her hands, how tightly she clenched them in her lap, how her shoulders stiffened. "They really think I'll leave you?" she said. "No," I said. "They hope you will. That way, I'll run back to them." She nodded slowly. "They don't get to hope things about me," she said. I thought that would be the end of it. I should have known better. A week later, my cousin Briar forwarded me an email that Celeste had sent to the extended family. It was long, rambling, passive-aggressive in the way only Celeste could be. But the point was clear. She told them I had abandoned the family for a girl who manipulated her way into Alara's life and isolated her from everyone else. She implied Serafina had been difficult, distant, and ungrateful, that my relationship with her was unhealthy, that I was obsessed with protecting her from imaginary slights. It was vile. And worse, it worked.
People started reaching out.
Aunt Margot sent me a text asking if everything was okay. Uncle Reese reached out to Arthur to see if I was having some kind of breakdown. Then my second cousin, Lyra, left a comment under one of Serafina's art posts. "You're very lucky. Don't forget who gave you a home." Serafina saw it, and I saw her see it. That was the final straw.
I didn't write back.
Instead, I compiled everything. Screenshots, old messages, photos, every unanswered invite, every moment of exclusion, every receipt I had saved over the years. I put it together like a case file. Not emotional, not bitter, just facts. Then I wrote a letter. No anger, no theatrics, just the truth. I sent it out once, to our extended family only, with a subject line, "For those who wanted the full story."
I didn't ask them to take sides.
I didn't beg for apologies. I simply gave them the truth. Some replied. Others didn't. A few quietly unfriended Celeste. Some refused to believe a word. But that didn't matter, because I wasn't doing this for them. I was doing it for Serafina, so she would never doubt what really happened. So she would never have to wonder, do you think they'd like me more if I were blood? After that, I blocked everyone who tried to argue. Everyone who said, maybe if you just talked it through. Everyone who believed that preserving peace was more important than protecting a child from emotional neglect masked as family values. We never heard from them again, at least not directly. I'm sure they still talk about us. I'm probably still the story they tell when someone brings up difficult children. I'm sure Serafina's name still comes up in clipped, judgmental tones. Let them say what they want. They gave up their right to know her. Fast forward. Serafina's in college now, in an art program, top of her class. She still calls me every night. Not because she has to, just because she wants to. She sends me pictures of her sketches. Sometimes she asks for my thoughts. Sometimes she just wants to say goodnight. When I dropped her off at her dorm, she hugged me for a full minute and whispered, "I'm not going anywhere." She may have meant it physically, but I knew what she truly meant. They say you can't choose your family. But I did. I chose her. Over blood. Over the suffocating weight of inherited guilt. Over decades of complicit silence. And if they're still waiting for me to crawl back, let them wait. They will wait forever. Every now and then I think about that moment on the porch, my mother handing me that box of cookies. As if sugar could erase years of silence. As if baked goods could fix everything they were too afraid to speak aloud. And sometimes, in the quiet of night, I ask myself, did I overreact? Should I have been more patient, stayed quieter, extended more grace? But then I remember Serafina's face the day I told her, they don't get to treat you like that. I remember the way she held on to me when we said goodbye at college. And most of all, I remember the promise I made, the one no one ever made to me when I was a child, that I would choose her every single time.